One of the things that God's been showing me over the last several years as a worship architect and someone who gets to put together services that hopefully lead people and direct people into seeing more of who God is that just being vulnerable and open about what God's doing in my life is so huge. One of those moments was a week that I got to share about just some of the pain that I felt as a child going through the divorce of my parents. So this next clip shows a bit of what that looked like.
Bernice? I'm going with my daddy.
Bernice, what do you think you're doing?
I'm going with you.
Honey, that's impossible.
But I'm going with you.
No, you gotta stay here with your mama. Bertie, you gonna help me out here?
You told me you wanted me with you, remember?
Listen, honey, I've gotta go. Now don't do this to yourself, okay? Don't make a scene. Now go on back inside, go ahead. Bernice, you know I'd take you with me if I could.
You can.
Try to understand, baby. Connie and I, we need this time to ourselves to try to make a go of it. Then I'll come back for you. I promise. I promise. I promise. Now go on inside, please.
You want me. You wrote it in the letter. Please. Let me in. You want me.
I'll always want you, Bernice. You're my little princess.
No.
But your mama, she needs you.
No.
And you need her.
No, I love you.
I love you, princess. I gotta go.
No! No!
I watched that clip. It just brings back a ton of memories. My own life takes me back to that Friday that my dad came home and said he was leaving our family, going to go start a new life. And I remember just all the emotions that I felt, all the pain, how angry I was. And I remember my dad telling me that it didn't affect me, that it was something that was between him and my mom. And it was their deal. It wasn't anything that would impact my life. And he was so wrong, because it impacted my life in so many ways. That day, it broke my heart in a way that I don't even understand myself. That day, it impacted me because I had to set aside just being a little kid and playing and become the man of the house. That day, I could no longer look at my family as what an all-together family looks like, and would have to rely on best friends and their families to figure out what that looks like. That was in 6th grade. In high school, began attending a youth group and just had so much anger in my life that was just tearing me apart. And God began to do a work in my life and begin to show me just His love for me, and gave me the forgiveness for my dad that I felt like my sophomore year in the summer that I needed to go up to Seattle and visit my dad, and just to let him know that I had forgiven him. So I went and did that and told him that I had forgiven him through what Christ had done in my life. I could never forget what He'd done, but I was able to forgive him. And that was just a huge time in my life. And it didn't stop there. I thought it would be just a nice, happy ending. And because of things that my dad continued to do, went on to the point that I haven't talked to my dad or heard from him in over 20 years now. And now as a young man, and as a father, it still plays out. That I don't think a week goes by that I don't look at my kids and just wonder how he could even do something like that. And does he ever think about me? What's going through his mind? And I wonder what I would ever say if I see him again someday, or how I would feel if somebody calls to tell me that he's died. Because there's really nothing there except hurt. When Jeremiah in the Bible talks about that God gives us plans for our life, He knows the plans for our life, plans to give us a hope and a future. And that's something that I've held on to so tightly, that in spite of all this other stuff that's gone on, and I would never hope that on my family or any family, at the same time, I have seen God's hope in my life. And just even as I was thinking about this week and stirring up so many bad memories, I know that there's folks out here sitting in the audience this morning that are contemplating big decisions like this. You're sitting here wondering if this is going to be the last day of your marriage, or what your family looks like. And I want to tell you that the costs are high, that what wasn't supposed to affect me just continues to affect me all throughout my life. But because of what God's done, I can also tell you today that my wife Jenny and I have made a conscious decision in our life that divorce is not an option, that we will be parents, and that we will break what has happened in generations in our life, that we will break that and it will stop, and that we are committed to seeing God do something new and fresh in our life and in our family's life.